Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome into this weekend edition of the D2L Western Challenge. It's going to be an EG doubleheader leading off with Fnatic as their first opponent. And I'll tell you what, EG's been looking pretty damn good as of late. We'll go ahead and take a look at the lineup, see how they stack up as the draft already is underway. And as they proceed, again, taking a look at the EG lineup that we've all come up. Actually, we'll start with Fnatic. That's fine, too. Fnatic making their D2L Western Challenge debut. Of course, they've got Era out in the carry position, one of the most productive hard carry players in all of the West. Hani's in mid with the hard support and captain in Fly. No Tail, one of a group of fan favorites. I mean, there are just some players who, they just tend to have a little bit more rabid of followers, and No Tail, certainly with his play on some unorthodox heroes, has earned that right as well. Then, of course, Trixie out in the offlane. As we can see, they don't have a record as of yet, so they'll be looking to start off with the win. Then there's EG. EG's already seen a little bit of action here in the D2L Western Challenge, and they've already started to look pretty damn good. I'm pretty sure we've got their lineup play coming up in just a moment, but I mean, it doesn't take a plate to tell us who's on that team. We all know and love the new squad from EG. They're led by PPD, who has really shown himself to fall in quite well into that captain's role. They're going to have Zion support with Arteezy in mid. The offlane player going to be Universe, and of course, the carry player normally is Fear. And to be honest, the players jumped in today and still hadn't changed their handle, so I'm not even positive if it's Fear, if it's going to be Mason once again standing in, but we'll find out here in just a minute. They are currently sitting second in the standings, but as you can see, the record is just 1-0. So, hard to get too excited about that. Speaking of the overall standings, we are still very early on, just here in week one of the D2L Western Challenge, but things are already beginning to take a little bit of shape. As we can see, Empire, who for a while there was considered one of the strongest, if not the strongest team in the West, has actually started out very, very slow here in the Western Challenge. They're 0-2 sitting in the cellar in 8th place. Na'Vi, to no one's surprise, is undefeated so far. 2-0 for them, 1-0 for EG, same for Cloud9. Alliance is yet to see any action. Fnatic again making their debut right now. Roxkus as well, still sitting on the bench waiting for their chance to shine, while Team Liquid has appeared twice as well, and they're sitting at 0-2, tied for last place. But again, we've got another week and a half of action. Going to be packed looking ahead to this second week. Our first week was mostly single best of 3 days. But our next week coming up, and we'll take a look at the schedule so you can see for yourself, is going to be absolutely jam-packed with action. Lots of 2 best of 3 days. Monday is going to be Cloud9, and then Cloud9 taking on EG, who will be back in action. Na'Vi will be taking on Cloud9. That'll be a marquee match, no doubt, for the Western Challenge early group stages here. Alliance will make their debut on Tuesday, and they'll have a doubleheader as well, taking on first Empire and Cloud9. Then you can see the rest, Fnatic taking on Alliance. Alliance in action once again, so they'll be playing out a lot of their schedule all at once. Then we got a little bit of a lull in the middle of the week just to pick it back up heading ahead to next weekend. So hope you'll join us for all of the action. I'm your host there in AC Chambers. I'll be here all day along with Trouf, joining me for commentary not just today, but for every day here at the D2L Western Challenge. Once again, Fnatic taking on Evil Geniuses coming up next. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Well, the draft went mighty quick behind us as we were doing our little introductions. You can even look at the bonus time and see neither of these teams has really touched much of it. But before the draft finishes, to break it down, let's bring in and introduce once again our analyst. Trouf, welcome in, my friend. Heard you're feeling better, and glad to have you back. And I'll tell you what, talk to me quickly about breaking down this draft.
Yeah, man, so much has happened already. First, there's so many things to talk about, but I just wanted to say I'm particularly excited about this match of EG versus Fnatic because I got a lot of friends actually on both sides. This is like old gen Han trash versus new gen Han trash. Fnatic, obviously old gen, they were in the scene for a long time, and so I'm friends with a lot of these guys. So this is going to be really fun, I think, to watch. But as far as I'm not going to look at specific things because we're here so deep in the draft already. But I will say overall, it looks like EG has been running something that they're very comfortable with the Treant and Darkseer, and then they've been running a lot of Shadow Demon with Zai playing the Shadow Demon as well. They've been picking this a lot lately, and it seems to be kind of like their staple go-to set of heroes. And that's not to say that they're not versatile, but this seems to be like the strategy that's very comfortable for them. And now for Fnatic, they open up with an aggressive Wisp Tiny pick right off the bat. So both teams, and as you mentioned, now EG's finally dipped into a bit of bonus time, but it seems like both teams have come into this matchup knowing pretty much what they want to do, especially Fnatic because they picked up the Wisp first. EG maybe not so much. They're just kind of running what they're good at.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And, Fnatic, one of those teams that never really gave up on the IO combination, even after the changes to Tether and everything else that made it lose popularity with a lot of teams. And that's just because they're the best in the world at running it. I don't really think there's any doubt. Cloud9 might maybe be able to give them a bit of a run for their money, even though they do run it a little bit differently. But Fnatic, in terms of five-man communication, is just so good. It's ridiculous. And it comes back to what you had mentioned kind of as a joke, but it's so true, is these core five have been together forever. They know each other's tendencies. They know how to communicate. They're certainly well organized. And there's a reason why Fnatic seems to finish top 2, top 3 in absolutely every tournament they enter. On the other side of the river, though, you've got EG. And that Treant Protector pick, once again, it has served them well so far, and why not stick with what works? I really like the Shadow Demon pick to go with the Alchemist as well. Shadow Demon, ever since they nerfed Unstable Concoction, you haven't seen Alchemist enjoy nearly the level of popularity he did there for a little while. I mean, there was a time where, for about a month long, he literally was picked and banned in every single match, Bat Rider style, if you go back to TI3. But that kind of changed. But Shadow Demon is one of those heroes that makes that much more viable once again. And Alchemist still has the potential for big damage output, especially if he gets up an early medallion. But yeah, having the Shadow Demon to disrupt and set up an Unstable Concoction now that it is a little bit harder to maximize in terms of damage potential really is worthwhile.
Yeah, and then the last pick for EG, an interesting Weaver pickup. This is a hero that by no means I can call underrated, but hasn't been picked up as much as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be. I think this hero is extremely strong. The one thing that people, I think about it is that it doesn't have really any AoE, but it has a lot of elusiveness, and it does a lot of single target damage. Kind of curious if they picked it into the Bane, but they do have Shadow Demon, and to protect Weaver from any kind of ultimate coming out from Bane. Also, this whole strategy from EG is just like, we've seen it so many times in the last week or so. It's just tank up, get some heroes that have, mech capabilities like Universe. PPD has a living armor, and this is like every game we see this. EG's running down, they're going to smoke, who is it on? Actually, no, they don't have a smoke, so they're just running down here as 5. But we see them do this all the time, and I got to say that all the time, EG has a level 1 momentum coming into like some kind of early skirmish, which we might see here in the...
Yeah, in the opening moments here, I agree with you. EG pretty much is just set in their ways at the moment. Well, I shouldn't even see set in their ways because that implies stubbornness. They just know what works for them. We've got Zai out front. There's going to be a disruption that's going to end up being on the Slark, and he is going to skill Dark Pact first. Mason's right there behind him. He's already down to half health. They may think about diving him. Nope. Fearing the presence of the rest of Fnatic perhaps behind that town. As we can see, they were spread out a bit. And spread out even more once they saw EG show their face. Hani takes some damage, but EG able to make it down and get some wards down. And it does sound like we actually did lose Trout for a moment. I can hear it pinging in the background. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back on in just a minute. In the meantime, though, the horn has blown, and we're 5 seconds away from the creep spawning. Let's take a look at who's handling who. And there's Trout. Welcome back, my friend. Unfortunate time for you to drop there.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't cut out too badly.
Nah, it's okay. You're all good, man. But creeps are spawning, so taking a look at the lineups, it'll be Fly, the captain, playing on our Bane with the IO, handled by No-Tail. No surprise there. No-Tail, an absolutely phenomenal IO player, and of course he's hooking up with Era, who will be on the Tiny. Centaur War Runner, who is really one of those heroes, and we've talked about it a bit throughout the first few matches of Western Challenge, a hero that is seeing increased popularity with pretty much every team in the West. Then, of course, Slark, played by Hani. On the other side of the river, we got PPD playing on the Treant Protector. Going to be Mason standing in for Fear still yet, playing on our Weaver. The Darkseer, played by Universe. No surprise there. One of his signature heroes was Zai, as mentioned, on the Shadow Demon. And the Alchemist going to be farmed in mid by Arteezy.
If you look at PPD, he's just sitting here on this haster in bottom. He finally picks it up, and he might go mid. Yeah, I was actually thinking he might wait until Alchemist hits level 2. So that he has to stun to do something in mid, because Wisp could be a very easy kill. And as we see here, Tree has 86 damage at level 1. This could be a kill. Here we go. He's baiting something out.
Moving up, Arteezy's there, has no mana. He's going to try to just run it down. Hits the leech seed and just watch that Tree rumble. Decides not to dive the tower, though, taking a bit too many tower shots. And I think perhaps a little bit of miscommunication there, as Arteezy actually spent all the mana he could have had for a concoction, instead dropping an acid spray. So, just some kind of miscommunication. In the meantime, Fnatic trying to hold the line against this pressure from EG. We can see Universe with the power of Ion Shell, shoving them right up under their own tower, and Zai even playing very aggressive on this squishy but effective Shadow Demon.
Yeah, but if Hani can get full experience here, which he should be able to, actually, they just want to push it, because Universe is using the Ion Shell and creeps right away. But the thing about Slark here in this situation is he should not be able to be, like, he's not an easy kill at all. And even if they catch him with a disruption, he can still just leap away. So I feel like this early laning phase here for Fnatic is actually going quite well. And yet, definitely some big miscommunication there in mid, because with the haste rune, and you saw PBD, he was sitting there for a full minute, just sitting on the haste rune, waiting until RTZ hit level 2. And as you mentioned, we could see RTZ go down. Era, he's already used the stun though. He could have maybe got the toss right there. I'm kind of questioning why he didn't even just try for it, but yeah, nonetheless, they definitely could have got that kill mid. A little bit of a problem there. Bane, fly down here, is trying to do something about this early push, but not quite sure what he can do. Maybe they're going to need a rotation from No-Tail, but that's probably not going to come out.
Yeah, he's just level 1, and PPD, even though he did waste a lot of time, as you had mentioned, sitting on that rune, is now level 2, so he's got up Living Armor and Leech Seed. That alone is going to allow him to tank the tower, to tank a lot of damage for his team as needed. And it looks like, yeah, they're just going to take down this tier 1 early. And this is a nice way to just break the map down. Zai's looking for Hani. We'll see him pounce away, and Universe karate chopping down the tower. So early on, we can see EG completely in the driver's seat, setting the pace and setting the tone.
Yeah, they're going to have to. This is what you have to do when you get an early tower push like this, because if they just leave Slark, he's going to completely free farm. And if anything, just get complete full levels, because it's hard to free farm against an Ion Shell in your face when you're a melee hero. But they need to just sit down here, farm this jungle, and then pressure Hani whenever they can. But again, it's a Slark. Like, you're not going to kill him unless Hani makes a really big misstep.
Well, we got Zai right there stacking the Shadow Poison. Hani is, going to Dark Pact and then pounce away and able to make it back. So in the meantime, at the mid, we can see RTZ in some trouble. Made it into the trees and will spin the unstable concoction. The tower get this kill. No-Tail, excellent play, grabbing the aggro from Era, and the toss from Era's RTZ. Playing a little too bravely, came out. Era saw him poke his nose out and tossed one creep and draws first blood. So in mid, we can already see a little bit of trouble for EG. The first miscommunication cost them a first blood, perhaps. And now they end up giving up first blood because RTZ just steps a little too far out.
Trixie just killed himself. Oh, he almost killed himself. Yeah, I think Trixie might have just killed himself up top. There's our action mid as well. Yep. RTZ's getting gone on. He might fall. Yeah, he's going to get the stun off, but a couple more auto attacks and he will die. Yeah, Trixie completely just killed himself. You're probably looking at mid, but he ran into the tower, double-edged Weaver, and then just took like 4 auto attacks from the tower. Weaver was at 100 HP, and Weaver just scoochied and killed him. A very, very weird play from Trixie. I missed a little bit of the starting from mid. Maybe you can recap that.
Mid, it was just a rotation from Bane. They ended up with the toss, and RTZ caught a little too far out. And, Alchemist is one of those heroes that you can get a little bit too chesty with him if you're not careful, and assume you're a little tankier than you are, a little more survivable than you are, because everyone tends to play a little cautiously around you because of the power of unstable concoction if you happen to have support rotations that'll allow you to follow up off of it now. But yeah, it ends up being a couple of weird plays everywhere. Nice play from Fnatic in mid as RTZ gives up his second death, and they're doing a great job of holding him down early.
Yeah, I just and you see Era here just constantly tossing. Yeah, sorry about my energetic clap there. I couldn't believe RTZ sat there. He was just like a very, very weird miscue from RTZ. It's early. I know he went out last night. That might have something to do with it. Who knows? I'm not going to harp on him too much, but that was just a little bit uncharacteristic of him. But top lane, that's not too big of a deal because he's still getting full experience, and he'll be level 6 soon, so he'll have that massive regen. But top was like, I don't understand what Trixie was thinking, because he was actually doing really well. I think he was actually probably beating Mason in CS, and just kind of threw it all away. At least he has level 6 now, though.
Gonna have a go on RTZ again. There's a Stampede follow-up with the Nightmare Arrows right there to hit him with the toss avalanche, and that'll be that. Couple of auto attacks and 1 Spirit, even though he did get off the unstable concoction. Not enough to slow it down, and Fnatic is dedicating a lot of personnel to holding down RTZ, but why the hell wouldn't you? Down at bottom, Slark up. Looks like Tree actually managed to get a return kill on the IO somewhere. Yeah, he caught him in the river there. But there's a lot of
place, right time.
Yep, exactly. A lot of personnel being dedicated to hold down Arteezy, but why wouldn't you? Especially with Hani doing such a good job of catching up. He's up to 15 CS now, just a little bit behind Trixie.
Yeah, but you know the good thing is the Wisp is actually very, very close to 6, and when he does hit 6, it's going to be. I think the number one thing they're going to look at is maybe getting a kill on Universe. He's going to be a pretty high gold kill. Oh, smash in mid.
Gonna have the follow-up on Era. He'll die, but the TP's there. Just no tail, though. No way for him to follow up on his own. And Zai making that Invis rune work as well as he possibly could have. He hung out for a while, but got the job done. Led off with the disruption as Arteezy charge, and of course stacking the poison and the soul catcher. So nice return kill. Fnatic now trailing 1 kill, 3-4 at bottom. Thought Universe might be gone on as we saw the rotation from the Bane, but there is action everywhere. PPD continuing to keep wards up while Trixie is farming right in the face of Mason. Mason sitting at just 29 CS. And in third position right now. So that just should go to show you, to accentuate your point, that Trixie was doing well before that death. He was actually doing a great job against Mason.
He really was, actually. And I know that Centaur has really good attack animation, but, I mean, it's a Weaver. You should pretty much... You have Sakuchi to help you out with last hits that would otherwise be kind of impossible to get. So, and return is kind of annoying in that lane, too. But, yeah, that was... I'm not going to keep going back to it. It was just kind of a screw up by Trixie. I'm sure he will do better in the future in that situation. But yeah, Fnatic is. I thought they would not have as easy of a time in mid against Arteezy, but they seem to have been doing quite well. But yeah, like I was saying, when Wisp is 6, actually he is 6, 6.5. So No-Tail's doing really well as far as levels are concerned here early on, and hopefully they can start getting active because it's a very powerful combo.
And we can see that mid tower. What little damage it's taken is being regen now by. Tree armor.
Trixie's looking for Arteezy. This might be a relocate up here.
Yep, here we go. They pop the Stampede. Relocate's coming in. They slow him down. Stomps there, and Era and No-Tail able to follow it up. Arteezy dies for the 4th time, and now Zai could be in some trouble. PPD's there. He gets off the disruption. Here comes Universe searching his way in. Era has enough mana for toss right now, but it looks like he just wants to go ahead and relocate out. Trixie lands the stomp to try and buy himself some time. Mason's right on his tail, though. Does have time lapse, so can get very aggressive if he wants. PPD, Surge, can he catch him with the Leech Seed? Got him. Mason right there behind him. Won't get up under the tier 1, but flies there, and the toss enough to force the rest of EG back. And a nice coming together, convergence, I should say, of Fnatic to protect their guy as he ran away. But still, again, Arteezy is in dire straits. He's sitting at 1-4, and we're only 9 minutes into this game.
He's recovering a little bit from doing stacks, but he doesn't have Greevil's Greed. I actually wonder if he's going to like hit 1 creep right here, get 1 point in Greevil's Greed at level 7 so that he can start upping his farm. I really feel like he might do that because it's going to help him a lot. They did a good job of stacking for him, and he gets another point in Unstable Concoction.
Yep.
Interesting.
Fighting build.
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention actually is Mason missed his bugs when they were chasing Trixie right there. Trixie juked him, went down instead of left, and as a result, the Tranquils were still on, so Trixie had extra movement speed. I feel like if Mason didn't miss the bugs there, they actually would have got the kill on him. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Again, Hani kind of silent down here, but he's getting gone on right now.
Yep.
If they can block him when he gets...
Relocate coming in, Hani eating some damage, but the immediate reaction out of Fnatic allows them to get the return kill on Universe, and Zai was nightmared by Fly. Wonderful play by him to have that presence of mind amidst all the action. And that's going to be 2-0. In mid, we're going to have, I thought we were going to have action. Looks like PPD thought better of it, though. Going to have a toss on Arteezy and an unfortunately timed pause as Arteezy says
no, the pussy pause.
Yeah, that's how it go. That's how you do. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to recap a little bit. It looks like they are ready. And Arteezy could be in some trouble. They've already spent there's the overgrowth used by PPD. The avalanche from the low ground does slow him down, but no way to catch up, and immediately the living armor to help him regen. But there's a toss just as they buy your leave.
EG's actually looking, honestly, a little bit sloppy this morning. I think it just has something to do with the early morning dodo, or I don't know, but like for instance, that go with Shadow Demon and Darkseer onto Hani was like, there was no way in hell that they were getting that kill with just those two. No way. I mean, he has Leap and his ultimate up. He's level 9 now.
Yeah.
I just don't even understand like the thinking process of trying to do that. So, kind of a little bit sloppy play coming out from EG. Let's check it. Take a look at the gold graphs and then experience. Gold is even, but experience is definitely in favor of Fnatic here early on.
And as important as gold will always be with a lineup that's predicated on gankers like an IO Tiny, who are predominantly going to be want to be bouncing around the map, and of course the Slark, experience is just as important, if not more important, in the first 20 minutes. So the fact that Fnatic is staying not just on par, but slightly ahead in that regard, bodes well for their mid game. Taking a look at some of the items that are out, Universe does have his mech up. We can see PPD most likely on his way to an urn if he can get it up. Elsewhere, we can see Arteezy is broke as a joke, sitting on just Bracer and Brown Boots at the moment, and Mason, with 1,700 gold banked away, does have an Aquila plus Brown Boots up, though, but even he, not quite where he would usually want to be. Still, at 57 CS, means he's right on par with the best on the map. Fly, pretty much broke IO. Bassy Bottle, no surprise. Taking a look at Arrow, though, he's in great shape. 1,200 gold plus treads, plus wand, plus a set of drums, and Trixie with a set of Tranquil Boots and 1,700 gold tucked away towards his Blink Dagger as well, and about 1G sitting in the bank of Hani. He's got an Aqualane treads up too. So Fnatic definitely looking really nice in their item progression compared to EG.
Yeah, and Mason, he's their one basically this game, and Hatred spawns top is, I like his items, but he went for basically kind of early team fighting items. I'm not sure if that's gonna, probably should be a Linken's, I suppose. Yeah, it's good against Bane. But Fnatic, Trixie, he's almost got his Blink. I would love, by the way, to see a Blink on Tiny. I don't think he's going to get it, but it's one of my favorite things, especially with the Blink Dagger mana cost change.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think it'd be good this game, too, because it would have this huge collapse effect with, Wisp planning to be able to port somewhere. Fnatic, or Trixie, he already almost has his Blink and 100 gold. Burst from Bane, I would personally love it. Again, I don't think he's going to go for it. He picked up the point booster, but it'd be more fun, but this is probably more safe, I guess.
We've got 4 from EG up at top. And looks like they want to push and continue to try. Yep, they're going to be teleporting in a 5th even. Mason's the only one showing his face right now, so perhaps trying to bait out some kind of a reaction. If not, they'll just flat out go and push. Trixie in good shape with Fly next to him. If they do decide to go, they're going to have, well, they're actually going to go on Mason. Here comes the relocate right into all of EG. There's a disruption to help them out, and beautiful unstable concoction to follow up, and the vacuum into all of the damage as EG waited as long as they could, baited it out with Mason, and they're not done. They're going to chase down Fly as he's back to the tier 2. Arteezy right on top of him, using that haste rune along with the rest of his team to make that a 4-for-0 exchange, and for sure going to get the tier 1 top. Hani doing what damage he can down at the tier 1 bottom. But yeah, they were all up there for such a long time. They knew if Mason sat up front long enough, they would try to do something. And by the time Fnatic reacted, unfortunately, the cavalry was already there and ready to turn that around. Well played.
That was textbook counterbait.
Yep.
Here's some multiple TPs up top. They want to do something. Hani actually catches Universe. Yeah, and the stun comes out. They might still get the kill on him. Toss coming out. So finally, they actually get a good counter kill. Really well played by Hani. And he's trying to pursue, but I'm not sure. Oh. They might get a toss onto him, actually.
Yep. And, yep, they're going to go ahead and toss onto Zai. Zai's right there, going to be hit with a Dark Pact and a few right clicks. That's another kill. Now we see Arteezy coming back out. Oh, he looked to throw out the unstable concoction. He's going to end up eating it on his face. But he does get... Nope, they're going to re-engage. Hani immediately pouncing onto him. Trixie's there to follow it up with the double edge, preceded by the stomp. And all of that ground that EG had made up is now erased as Fnatic with the counter reaction to top. And EG a little bit lackadaisical in getting back, got punished for it badly.
Counter throws. That was actually really unfortunate as soon as, actually really well played by No Tail right there. He saw the stun being channeled, and then he tethered to get out of range of it, so he knew that, and they wanted to go on him, so they just waited until RTT stunned himself. And unfortunately, his ult just wore off right when he stunned himself, so he didn't get the extra regen. Don't think it would have mattered, but yeah, really well played by, specifically Hani making the rotation they needed to. And he just bought something. Is it the Shadow Blade? Yeah.
Yep.
So look at this. This was a 3v1 situation. Slark in the bottom lane, basically off lane, and he's got Aquila, Power Treads, and Shadow Blade at 15 minutes. I really feel like this Slark pick was excellent by Fnatic.
Oh yeah, the way it's working, especially now that he's beginning to move around a little bit. Like you said, he had to take a little bit of time and catch himself up, but we saw just how effective he is, especially in combination with Trixie, who now has that blink and has shown it off, so they're aware of it. But being able to be tossed by Arrow as well. The mobility to lead off these fights and the follow-up chains that they have at their disposal are just absolutely devastating. And Arrow, And this is something that's going to be very worrisome for EG. He is more than halfway done with his scepter. Hell, he's more than 3/4 of the way done with his scepter now. Already with the Ogre Club and Staff of Wizardry, and now with a nice stack there. I'm going to stack it one more time, it looks like, if they can get it clear. And they will be able to do so, maybe. Yep, got another stack. It'll be Satyrs. So they'll be able to come back for that. But in the meantime, EG, perhaps beginning to feel a little bit of urgency, knowing that Era's going to start to get completely out of control if they don't derail him soon. Grouping as 5 and looking to make something happen in mid.
Yeah, and it's really easy for them to clear stacks too. That's something that Fnatic, specifically No Tail, is very good at doing. Because that's actually pretty hard to stack because they walk so slowly, those creeps. And just a little side note, fun fact, is that actually Fnatic was really well known in Han for their stacking capabilities. They were always so adamant about stacking every neutral camp. So just a little fun fact right there. But yeah, one of the things too about Era having this early scepter is one of the problems with Tiny, at least early on. This is why he goes drums. Is he's not the most mobile, but with the IO and the Centaur ulti as well, he's going to be up in the faces of EG. So he's going to be hitting like a truck. He's going to have full movement speed close to obviously when Centaur ultis, but then with the Wisp tethered, he's going to be moving around a lot faster than he normally would if he didn't have these two heroes supporting him.
We're at 17 minutes in, 9-8. So we're right at 1 kill a minute so far. And the gold, very, very close. Still a very close game, but I really do worry for EG now that Era has his scepter up. And, you know, another factor to take into account here, we've got Mason, who's gone Midas, and you've got Arteezy, who has not put a single point in Agreevil's Greed. So the Midas is nice, but it means Mason's going to be even longer in coming in terms of his item development. And Arteezy doesn't have his farming mechanic up. They're going to engage on the No-Tail. See if they can follow it up. Universe showing off a blink of his own. Unstable Concoction is there. Does a lot of damage. And the right click there to follow it up. Avalanche helping to deter them back from the tier 2 a little bit. Rest of Fnatic a little bit spread out. There's going to be a nightmare on the Arteezy. And it's taken off by PPD. Let's see. Yeah, bottom we just see Hani split pushing. He shows no desire to come out. There's a Blink Centaur sitting on the ridgeline. Mason with that double damage rune, though, has to be a little bit imposing. And they'll take what they can get and go ahead and bail out after that. But, yeah, so long as they can do that, they should be all right. But Fnatic, with the lead that they have so far, as small and marginal as it might seem, and Hani's actually eating some damage at bottom, with the pure fighting build on the Alchemist, they can't afford to fall too much further behind because Arteezy's going to have a hard time catching up in gold.
Yeah, I actually really like even though it was very late, Midas from Mason, I really, really approve of it. Also, I've said before, I'm a huge fan of the item still. But it's going to help them out in the late game a lot. Like, their late game, honestly, I actually favor Fnatic, but the thing about Alchemist, even though he's had a slow start, is he's going to catch up. Oh, hang on.
PPD engaged on with Universe. Beautiful vacuum wall. No Tails in trouble. Arteezy there to follow it up with the Unstable Concoction. Now chopping one on Eric. Can he get away? No. Nice return kill, being able to bring him down. Hani is going to be able to scurry to safety down through the river. But that was an attempted Stampede plus relocate gank. Blows up in Fnatic's face as EG is there with the reaction, and Universe predominantly the one responsible for that turnaround with the mech and the vacuum wall that locked everyone in place as Arteezy followed up with a well-placed Unstable Concoction.
Yeah, I think it's funny because two of these heroes that EG's been drafting all the time lately, which are Darkseer and Tree, are actually pretty damn good against Wisp relocates. They just come in, the overgrowth comes out, it's actually quite easy to use the wall vac because you know where they're coming in. So it's a very devastating combo to the Swift Tiny combination. I wonder if after Scepter now, if Era's going to go for BKB, just to get out of the overgrowth and make himself be a little bit more mobile again. I think it might be a good decision. We'll have to see.
Taking a look at items continuing to develop on both sides. Centaur has finished his Hood of Defiance, so a little help with the double-edged damage as well as all the other magic damage in store. Mason has picked up his Perseverance, his 2400 tucked away, so Lincoln's isn't too far away for him. Then on the Darkseer, we can see he's going to be going Shivas. Has picked up his Plate Mail. Already has his Soul Ring up, plus Blink and Mech. Zai, still pretty broke, but does have up a set of Tranquils. Looks like Era's actually going to spot himself a DD. And that's handy-dandy for a Tiny, especially once you're swinging the big stick. And then, of course, Arteezy, who's actually gone pure Blade Mail. And finally has a point in Agreevil's Greed, but he is definitely going to be slow in the coming if he wants to catch up here in the mid-game. We're actually going to see a one-man smoke from Fly as he uses it just on himself and is now heading up to top. Era, 1,200 gold tucked away. Don't know if he has anything. Nope. On the Courier, looks like, No Tail's actually going to be getting himself a Vlad's as he's picked up the Morbid Mask and the Ring of Regen. The Centaur we already talked about, and of course, Hani. He looks like he might be going for a Scotty. He's already picked up his Shadow Blade and has the Ultimate Orb up as well, or at least one Ultimate Orb, if that will be the eventual choice.
I don't really like the Scotty pickup here. Actually, Fly's getting caught out right now. He should be dead. Oh, no, there's a Centaur ulti, which is quite good against Shadow Demon, and he's running away.
Stampede, enough to get him to safety. Mason's right there with him. He's not going to care to chase. Nice stun from Trixie, and Fly's going to be there to turn it around as Mason ate a brain sap. There was the Fiend's Grip as well, immediately buying back and time-lapsing in. Now they're going to try to get the return on Trixie. Trixie able to blink away before any damage could be done. In the meantime, Hani has managed to take a tower at bottom. He's down there pushing along with another teammate as Mason continues to pursue Trixie out. Trixie should be feeling pretty tanky right now, but now that he's taking the damage, won't be able to use that blink dagger. PPD there to hit him with the Leech Seed. And yeah, finally the Overgrowth will be spent. Concoction and a killing spree for PPD. The whole time, though, look what they managed to do. They chased.
Created.
Yeah, they chased poor Centaur, poor Hani, across the whole damn map. And Fnatic says, that's fine, we'll take 2 towers.
That was really well played by Fly and especially Trixie. Getting the stun off onto the Invis Weezer. I can't even talk. Invis Weaver. But and just the communication right there. This is what you get from a team that's been playing together for so long. Is they both knew, bam. Okay, they didn't even have to say anything, I'm sure. They just knew, stun, he's going to come out, I'm going to grip him, and then we can kill him and burst him down before anything happens. And that all happened in the span of about 1.5 seconds. It was really beautiful to watch. So Trixie, relocate top lane.
On to Arteezy. Caught out in the river. Fly was there with the Nightmare. And you know, that's something we didn't even talk that much about, is how bravely you can play as a Bane whenever you have an IO plus a Tiny. You can just wander the map, and if you run, all you want is to find one target. You go up Nightmare and call in the Cavalry, and it's an easy kill every single time. And we've seen him do that more or less since the beginning of the game. So the way, pretty much every aspect of Fnatic's lineup works with every other aspect. I really love what they've drafted here, and the way they're playing is really just about as good as I've seen them play, or just about anyone play in quite some time. The mistakes are very few. A little bit sloppy on both sides to start, but now that they're really in their wheelhouse in the mid-game, you're just seeing them play tight and really, really execute.
Yeah, and it does look like Era's going to go for a Manta now. I actually think this is a bit better because it's going to help him have more attack speed, which is obviously really good. When it's going to give you the most damage for a hero that has such high base damage. So, and you can also get out of the Overgrowth with that, I believe. So that's going to be good for him. Hani, he's been quite quiet this game. It's like a split. Oh yeah, I was going to mention, not the biggest fan of Scotty on him. Obviously, it's not really going to. The slow effect isn't going to be so effective to Weaver. It is going to be pretty good to Arteezy though, so that's maybe why he's getting it. Also, just to tank up and just kind of be a front man in these fights. But yeah, it's actually not that bad, and I give it a second look. I really like the way that Fnatic's playing though. Yeah,
it's not terrible. It's just one of those all-around good items. Like you mentioned, on the hero in particular, just the way he works and the ability to lock down a single target. Whenever you go into a fight as a Slark, you're trying to just basically burst one target down as much as you can. Dark Pact AoE damage is always nice, but usually you're your primary anti-carry, for lack of a better way to put it. And Scotty certainly helps in that regard in helping you stick on a target. EG, knowing that they're falling behind, and we can see the goal graph has completely flipped. At one point, the largest lead in the game, 2,000 for EG, now more than double that in favor of Fnatic, while the experience has pretty much been in Fnatic's favor the whole time. They're trying to get themselves a Roshan, and Trixie looks like he's figured it out, but Rosh already down to 1/3 health. And it looks like Fnatic actually doesn't care. They're just continuing to split push, but they can relocate in at any point if they feel like it. Doesn't look like that's going to be the plan, though.
Yeah, Living Armor actually at top lane. Buying some time, they do still get the kill. Mason, he TP's in. He might be okay. He actually might be able to net a kill onto No-Tail, doing a lot of good. No, the relocate comes out.
No-Tail sacrificing himself for the greater good. And there will be the detether. And let's see if he can do it again. I remember the last time I saw him do something like this. No, he's actually going to bring Era back just to keep him safe. Now in mid, though, there's going to be action as Trixie's caught out. He popped the pipe. Now the follow-up unstable concoction. Hani's there to turn it around. Universe disrupted defensively. That buys time for Trixie to retreat. Hani just trying to body block. Unfortunately, the Shadow Poison managed to bring down Trixie behind the fight. Hani walks right through his own, right through the wall and is taking damage from his own illusion as Mason tries to clean him up. Ulti used to try and keep him alive. There's another concoction onto Era. Mason has his Lincoln's pop. Look at the burst damage. Can they get him? They can. H is already gone with one big swipe of that tree. Arteezy with the blade mail A bit of a deterrent for Era. Now he's going to follow it up. He's going to end up just about killing himself on him, though, and does end up dying, so mistiming the avalanche toss there and ate every bit of that damage right back in his own face, courtesy of the blade mail. As the dust settles, it's a 3-for-2 trade favoring Fnatic, but that could have been much worse for EG, I think.
Yeah, that was actually kind of funny because Era made the conscious decision of, oh, I'm not going to attack him. He has blade mail. And then he waited like a second, and then he attacked him anyway and he'll hurt himself.
Yep.
Kind of a funny play, and that goes to show you, I actually really like that early blade mail pickup on Alchemist, partly because if you tank up after that, which he's doing, it's probably going to be like a Heaven's Halberd or something. Actually, it could be Saint Genyasha too. I really like Saint Genyasha, but either way, he's getting some HP on top of that, so when he pops the ultimate, if he's taking lots of damage, he's also gaining lots of HP back, so it's kind of really cool little thing that he's done, and it worked out right there.
Mithril Hammer picked up by Mason. We'll see if that's going to be a BKB or a Desolator. Let's see. Looks like he's got everything. Nope, never mind. Just bringing out other stuff for other people. Will be the Mithril Hammer on the way to him. And could go either way, really. Either option I would understand, though I think a Desolator is kind of needed. They really need some more follow-up damage as the tiny Centaur and Slark do tend to feel very tanky, especially once that Slark does pick up his Scotty. There's a big smoke coming through mid. And looking for a target. Trixie was a little bit far out there. They were trying to send PPD along the edge. He's now under cover of Nature's Guise. Fly just beside him. Era's coming out. This would be a big get. There's the Demonic Purge. Can they follow it up? Disruption has not come out. No-tail there. Oh, good overgrowth from PPD. Oh, beautiful vacuum wall. And they're trying to turn it around, but PPD is right there with the lead sheet. Trixie slowed down. They forced the buyback out of Fly. They only get Trixie plus Fly. But being able to just disjoint all of Fnatic there, and that looked like a nice play. Yeah, that was a relocate to get Era out of trouble there, knowing it wasn't a fight they really needed to be a part of. But for the most part, EG able to take a pretty good win there. They will end up falling back before pushing the tower, though.
Yeah, the question as this becomes later is, can EG do something with their cooldowns down? So obviously with their wall vac combination with the overgrowth, they can pretty much take out 2 to 3 heroes instantly. But if you have buybacks and relocates right after that, or if you don't burst someone down, I feel like EG is going to have a bit of a problem because you have actually really good farm on Mason. I hope it is a death, so I don't think it'll be a BKB. And yeah, Heaven's Halberd coming out onto Alchemist, so he's not doing that much late game. So they need to keep doing this. Also, I was kind of scared there. With the disruption that Zai had, it was actually on Era, and I think it was kind of like saving him for a second. But yeah, he was going to be okay anyway.
Halberd was the choice. Good call, my friend, on Arteezy, and makes sense. Take a look at the net worth. We can see the top two do belong to Fnatic, and the item progression now for Hani is through the roof. He's actually got up a Maelstrom on the way to a Mjolnir as well. We can already see the damage output that's possible. There's a relocate, though, very unnecessary. Hani could have soloed him extremely easily, and we will see them end up heading back right now, back into the enemy jungle. So, but a free kill, and even though it was a Shadow Demon, you take what you can get where you can get it.
I think it's okay to make liberal uses of that relocate there, because even though he 100% would have got the kill 1v1, you don't know if like people are sitting behind them. Obviously, we've seen before in this game, EG doing a good job about baiting heroes. So it's just kind of like they're not going to take the risk, and yeah, I think it's okay. But yeah, Hani, I feel like he's going to carry this game. I really do. I feel like he's got so much farm. He did so well in the beginning.
I don't know, man. Tiny's got an Exalt Cure ass pretty much done already.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this draft from Fnatic. It's kind of scary drafting a Wisp right away because it gives time for the other team to come out with counters. I mean, EG does have some decent Wisp counters, but these heroes, yeah, Era and or Slark and the Tiny are just doing so much. Also because Arteezy just got shut down so hard in mid, and Fnatic is abusing that right now.
Something we haven't talked about is take a look what EG's done to try and slow down Era. Hang on, there's going to be an engagement breakout near the pit. Arteezy jumped on, and behind that we're going to see, oh, very nice time lapse down on Mason. Keeps him up and fighting. PPD joined up with Arteezy. Arteezy pops the blade mail, so they got to be careful about who they target. And now the overgrowth going to be used as Fnatic decided to try and fall back and regroup a little bit. Trixie already used Stampede, still has the pipe. Now he will use it. They're going to engage off of that. Arteezy and Mason rushing up to the high ground as the rest of Fnatic tries to pursue them out. Demonic Purge slows down Era. Very nice counter to him for the moment. Hani gets an eye on Arteezy. Beautiful Fiend script. There's a vacuum that disjointed. The wall goes down as well. And Universe just making big plays everywhere in this fight. Arteezy finally does drop, and now Universe Shot is wad, no mana left, and Era's there to help clean house. Disruption buys time for Zai. Mason doing what right-click he can, but a couple more auto attacks should be about enough. Universe is actually still being pursued. Finally dies to Hani. Mason with another time lapse and does end up dying with the link. It's popped. It is Era traded for him, though. Hani still up and running. It's a 4-for-3 exchange, and only PPD, the one still breathing, on the side of EG. So a well-fought battle on both sides, but no doubt about it. Fnatic with the Slark and the Centaur still standing, come out ahead once again. And PPD still kind of nervous as he's got a lot of enemies still hovering about.
Yeah, I feel like Hani just has free reign in these fights.
Yeah.
Like, again, I keep going back to it, but this Slark pick was so good. And because they didn't really have killing capability, in fact, they really don't have any killing capabilities at any time in this game against the Slark at all. Really, there's really no hard lockdown. There's a stun from Arteezy, but he can obviously just dark pack that. And that fight would have gone 5 times worse, though, if Universe didn't make a big play with, first of all, the vac onto the Bane when he was ulting, and then, of course, the wall coming out. So Universe, he really kept him in the fight right there. Also, a little bit earlier on, unfortunately, Era missed his stun on Arteezy as he was actually banished or disrupted from Zai. I thought it was going to be a very easy stun, but he missed it.
Yeah.
And that could have changed things a little bit and made it easier for Fnatic fighting without an Alchemist right off the bat. So, but definitely still a huge win for Fnatic. And yeah, look at the net worth here. As you mentioned, Tiny, he's huge, but I keep calling him Fnatic Hani for some reason. But Hani, he is just having a field day so far this game.
Back underway, but yeah, as you mentioned, top 2, basically 3 of the top 4, all belonging to Fnatic in terms of pure net worth. Those Centaur and Darkseer right on top of each other. Mason really is the lone hope, and that's all well and good, but the problem with the Weaver is, as awesome as the hero is late game especially, and especially when he just gets up all of his items, he still, he's a single target hero. He still needs some help and some lockdown and some, teammates that are going to be able to allow him to have space to operate in these fights, and we're just not seeing that happen right now for EG. Arteezy still is really abysmally underfarmed, especially by his standards, and sitting at 10K net worth, you think, that's not that terrible, 32 minutes, but when you compare it to the rest of the board, he really is quite far behind, especially for an Alchemist. Now, he should be able to catch up eventually because he now finally has the points in the Grieval's Greed. But one thing I was in the process... Go ahead.
I think it might be too late to catch up. Arteezy, the thing about Arteezy is that if he does get shut down mid, he's normally very good about bouncing back in the sense of, crap, I'm dying a lot, I'm going to go for items so I can just fight and help out my team, which is usually what most players do, and that's fine. But what sets him apart from most players is that he's like, I'm still going to do my thing. I'm going to farm up, and you guys cover for me because I've had such a bad start. And then he just gets massive CS. And I feel like he maybe could have done that this game simply because EG did such a good job of stacking for him early on. So while the Blade Mailed in this kind of build has been good in some fights, I feel like it's starting to taper off now. We're seeing that.
Well, taking a look at Fnatic, they are just so tanky. Hani in particular, 2,400 HP, and has picked up a gem, so he's putting EG in the dark right now. And that's going to be so hard for them to deal with against a relocate Aini Tayo combo. Aini Tayo? Yeah, that makes sense.
It's happening to both of us, man.
You're infectious in more ways than one.
Yeah.
But yeah, 33 minutes in, I agree. I feel like Arteezy is going to have a long road ahead if he actually does want to bounce back and get to a carry position. I don't know that they're going to have time, as Fnatic at this point, I believe, has the tools to finish it out. Yeah, there's the Assault Cuirass done on Era. And they have the tools to begin looking to slam the door shut. This is beginning to feel a little bit like desperation from EG. Unfortunately for them, they bypassed Roche. I don't think they saw that he was up. It was a very short respawn timer, only about 40 seconds after the minimum respawn time. Mason does manage to find a tower kill there, but look at top. Hani forcing the glyph out, forcing the reactions out. EG may, I don't know that they saw it. Nope, they're going to bypass it. So
look at Era's damage on mid. He's all by himself, and that tower went down in less than 4 seconds.
Yep.
Insane.
This is late game Tiny, man. Late game Tiny, swinging so hard. And, something you mentioned in terms of Slark, but I think at this stage really applies as much to Tiny, is where's the lockdown? I mean, you've got a Demonic Purge, which is all well and good, and that'll slow him down some, but you still have to engage him at some point. I mean, the Blade Mail pickup, and especially with the Halberd for Arteezy, is nice. That'll take him out of the fight for a little while, but you've got just as big a problem in Slark, and I just don't know how they can account for both of these heroes at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I don't either. Even if Tiny was a different hero and it was just still the Slark, I feel like they have nothing to to keep this Slark down. They need a harder stun. They needed like a Bane or an SK, but even then, that's one of the beauties of Slark. It's very easy to, if you know you're getting stunned, you press that Dark Pact, and then no more stun anymore.
Yep.
So that's why Bane is in particular pretty good if you can set up something with a fast sleep or what have you. But as far as EG's capabilities to lock down the Slark, it's very, very lacking, or very lackluster, I should say.
Fnatic continuing to split push up atop Trixie with Hani. Hani even has a DD. There's an unstable concoction. TP's going to come in. He will Dark Pact and just go to work on Arteezy. Arteezy now getting some help. Universe got off the Shivas, but the rest of Fnatic shows up just in time. Mason gets a pick off on fly behind that Zai with another disruption. Mason, though, eating a lot of damage, forced the time lapse. Has his Lincoln's pop. PPD with a great overgrowth. Let's see if they can capitalize. Trixie has a blade mail of his own, but Hani is still up and running. Just look at the damage. Able to melt him down immediately. Trixie should end up dying here due to the shadow poison. Nope, never mind. Thought he had more stacks than he did. So does manage to stay alive. That's another 2 for 1. And Fnatic in the meantime, has gone bottom. Exactly. Tier 3 gone. Era and No Tail utterly chopping wood on these buildings. Down goes the melee racks. Let's see if they can. No, Arteezy, egg on his face. And that's a big problem. You mistime the disruption and mistime the unstable concoction. Yep.
Yeah.
GG. That was hilarious. That was actually kind of funny. It's like disruption. It's like, all right, get him. And then the unstable concoction blows up on his face, and they both end up dead because of it. So well played by Fnatic, and they make their D2L debut with style, rocking the IO Tiny to a 36-minute win.
Yeah, I mean, we talked so much about, at least I did anyway, about how Slark was just uncounterable, and he was. Look, 5-0 and 10, he went up against a tri-lane that we've seen EG do so many times and absolutely wreak havoc with previous teams. And it's not, well, okay, a lot of it was played, and Hani played it very well. He was sitting to get full experience most of the time, and they just didn't have the capabilities to kill a Slark. And also at the top, the last fight there, we saw Universe was really the main hero for EG, at least in team fights.
Yep.
And they killed him right away. And I believe he just bought a Shiva, so he didn't have buyback. And when he killed him, I knew right there, it's probably, if not GG, at least 2 sets of racks, because without the Darkseer, without Universe there to make the big plays that he did previously, they just don't really have much. So great draft by Fnatic, well played by Hani in particular. And yeah, maybe EG will have to rethink this. I still think it's a good combo that they have. But I think as far as, maybe they'll wait at least until they see something like a Slark or ban out a Slark, because they had absolutely no way to keep him down.
Yeah, no, it was a good draft. They went out of their way to make sure Arteezy never got his legs underneath him, and that's kind of what I think they knew. Outside of just drafting well and, like you said, having a very tough lineup for EG to deal with as a whole. If you have the Alchemist, who is really the frontline hero they needed desperately in these fights, and he's underfarmed. Weaver, as farmed as he was, and Mason did play well, finishing 531 GPM, and a great net worth, or at least the best on EG towards the end. Nonetheless, a Weaver just can't solo carry a team the vast majority of the time. Whenever you have heroes like Slark, Tiny, and Centaur, all 3 that get tanky, all 3 get hard to bring down, all 3 have ways to just make life hard. And, he's not going to be able to account for all 3 at the same time while they run roughshod over the team, unless you have a frontline hero like Alchemist, and he was just a complete non-factor. Standout performers for Fnatic, well, Tiny and Slark, that's Hani and Era, both ended up a collective 17-5 on those 2 heroes, 12-5 on Era's Tiny, who was all over the map. Great play from No Tail, as usual, on the IO, and honestly, everyone played well. So, enough about Game 1. Game 2 is going to be coming up next. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. EG versus Fnatic, the front end of our EG doubleheader today on the D2L Western Challenge. It'll be EG taking on Team Liquid coming up in our second best of 3. That should be kicking off in a couple of hours from now, but of course this series still needs to reach its conclusion. Fnatic leads 1-0. EG going to look to tie the score up, to knot things up. But Fnatic thinking 2-0 would be a real nice way to start their D2L Western Challenge resume. We'll be right back. Stick with us.